Hey, it's Justin. I wanted to quickly talk about how I did this subtle effect in the recent interior night test that I shot. In this shot here, we can see two pictures, which then go out of focus, and we can see a reflection of me getting up and walking out of the frame. The goal of the shoot was to light a day interior scene as if it was night, but as I was getting the last shot, it was towards the end of the day, and I initially wanted to get the shot in camera, but with just me there, it was difficult to line up the reflection just where I wanted it to be in the frame. In order to meet the deadline, I said those 5 little words, "I'll fix it in post." But at least I knew I wasn't pushing it off on anybody else since I was the one who was going to have to fix it. I did this here in After Effects, and this is the final composition. You can see that it's not too complicated. We only had 3 layers, which are the footage of the pictures, the footage of the reflection, and a white solid that we're using as a matte. So let's walk through it. I'm going to open a new composition, and I call it Tutorial, and I'll make it 10 seconds and hit OK. Then I'll go ahead and bring in my footage, which is this right here. Drag it in. The clip of the picture frames, I've named pictures, and crazy enough, the reflection clip is going to be my reflection. I'm going to put the reflection clip on top of the pictures clip, and then with the reflection clip selected, I'm going to press T on my keyboard, which brings up the opacity parameter, and then I'm going to drag this down a little bit so I can see both clips. Now, when I was filming, I didn't take into account my reflection getting flipped, so we can do that now by pressing S to open the scale property, then unlinking the horizontal and vertical scale by clicking the link icon so it goes away right here. And then we can change this first number of the scale from 100 to -100. Press enter, and we can see what that does is the image flips. Now I'm going to link the scale property again and then shrink it to the size that I want. Somewhere around here, maybe. Whatever looks good. Looks good. I just want my face to fit inside the picture frame. Next, we have to confine the layer so it's only showing inside of the picture frame. Let's create a new solid by going up to Layer, New, and Solid. I'll call this Reflection Matte, and hit enter. Now I'm going to hide this layer by poking out its eyeball on the left. And I'm going to grab the pen tool, and I'm going to cut around the part of the image where I want the reflection to show. So I can zoom in by scrolling with my mouse and then hold spacebar to drag. One around here, to here, about there, and we can always clean this up a little later. There, and there, and that looks pretty good. If you want to clean it up, you can just click and drag these points, move it where you want. So I'm just confining this to the picture frame, and that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to give the mask a bit of feathering. So with this layer still selected, I'm going to hit F on my keyboard to bring up the feathering parameter. And I'll give it about 10 or so. This is just so we don't have really crisp lines along the matte, and it kind of blends itself better to the footage. Now I'm going to turn on the track matte for the reflection layer by clicking this right here. And I'm going to make it an alpha matte right there. And I'm going to click that. And we can see what that did is it confines our layer to inside the picture frame. If you can't see that option to add a track matte, you can just right click on this bar up here and then go to columns. And then you can just make sure that modes is on. If you don't want to make this reflection matte, you can also do this just by making a mask on the reflection layer, but I like this method because it allows you to reposition the image later without having to change the matte. Now we can see that our footage doesn't extend all the way to the bottom of the frame, so what we can do to hide that is to reflect the image on the bottom. To do this, you can duplicate the image, flip it, and line it up yourself, but I like to use a free plugin from Video Copilot called VC Reflect. So I'm going to apply that by coming up to Effect, Video Copilot, and then VC Reflect. If I solo this layer, we can see it's essentially doing the same thing as what I just described, but it's doing it all for you. So I'm going to unsolo this clip. We can see it's now extending to the bottom of the screen, which is good, but it's still being confined within the matte that we created. All right, looking good so far. So now we can add the focus pull. With our reflection layer selected, go to Effect, blur and sharpen, and then camera lens blur. I'm going to find the point in the timeline where I stand up, which is right there. I'm going to come over here, going to hide this, and I'm going to change the blur radius to 0. And then I'm going to add a keyframe. Next, I'll go back to where I want the focus to start changing, which is about right here. And I'm going to increase the blur to around 48 or so. That looks pretty good. I'm also going to come down here, press U so I can see the keyframes. Then I'm going to highlight them both and press F9. What this does is it smooths out the animation of the keyframes. This way they don't look so linear. Also make sure that you have repeat edge pixels selected. Otherwise you'll get what looks like vignetting in your image. Now let's copy this effect. I'm going to press Ctrl C since I'm on Windows. If you're on Mac, it's Command C. And then I'm going to come down to the pictures layer. Then I'm going to paste it with Ctrl or Command V. Now on the pictures clip, I'm going to press U so I can see those keyframes. Then I'm going to come over here and highlight both keyframes, right click on them, go to Keyframe Assistant, and then Time Reverse Keyframes. This makes it so when the reflection layer is coming into focus, the pictures layer is going out of focus. Let's see. Keep in mind, it might take a little bit to preview because of the camera blur. All right, there it is so far, looking pretty good. I think I'm going to come over here to the reflection layer. I'm going to turn down this opacity a bit more. Maybe around 30, we'll try around 30 or so. Yeah, I think that's looking a lot better. All right, one last thing that we can do is we can animate the mask path when the pictures layer starts blurring, because we can see that the picture frame starts to expand a bit when the blur comes in. With the reflection matte selected, I'm going to go to where the blur starts, which is right here. And then I'm going to press M on my keyboard to bring up the mask path. I'm going to set my first keyframe right here. And then I'm going to go to the end. I can hold shift when I'm dragging and it'll jump to that keyframe. And then I'm going to adjust my matte here. So I can double click on this and then I can just click and drag these sides right here, these handles, and I can just bring this in to where the picture frame is. And that is looking pretty good. All right, I can hit enter to accept that. And then I'm going to highlight both of these keyframes. And then I'm going to press F9 again to smooth out that animation. Then I'm going to come over here to reflection. And it looks like I'm not touching the very top of the frame right here. So I can just click and drag. And now we're good. And there we have it, a pretty cool effect that I was able to use to save some time while shooting. Let me know what you think as well as anything else that you'd like to see in the future. I'll see you guys in the next video.